All right, you're back with Nick. I'd just like to introduce our question host tonight. We have Brody across the room here. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, Nick. Kia ora koutou, ko Brody tōku ingoa. Brody is my name. No kōtirana o Kutupuna. My ancestors hail from Scotland. However, I'm born and raised in the beautiful Tauranga Moana. Pleasure to be with you this evening once I figure out which camera to look into. Here we are. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. All right, we have 4 lovely candidates in studio with us tonight. Would you please be able to introduce yourself, starting with closest to me?
Kia ora, I'm Heidi Hughes and I'm running in the Mount Ward.
Kia ora, I'm Jen Schooler, Jen for Mount.
Greetings, Michael O'Neill. A vote for me is a vote for change, the voice you deserve.
Kia ora, Garth Matheson.
All right. Well, let's get on to the questions. Nope. I'm sorry. This is my first time doing it. You will have to bear with me, and please, a little tenderness.
How long do we have for statements?
You have 1 minute. All right. So opening statements. Again, we'll start closest to me and work our way down.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm a mother of 2. My kids have grown up in the Mount. I love this place. I love Tauranga. I'm really interested in the way that we can build an inclusive city that is that has good multimodal transport and that has really good communities for our future kids.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Kia ora, I'm Jen Schooler. I grew up in Tauranga and I live in the Mount currently. I've had 35 years of commercial experience across horticulture and banking and diplomacy. I want to bring those capabilities to the council table in Tauranga. I love the city. I want Tauranga to be the best place to live and work and learn and play. But we've got some challenges amongst the wonderful opportunities. So I think strong engagements and really good relationships are really important. We want diversity of thinking and person. And I believe that I can bring real capability to the board table for the council, great financial skills, and I'm seeking your vote. Vote Jen Schooler for the Mount.
Thank you,
Kia
Jen.
ora, Michael O'Neill, long-term Mount resident. At the heart of my campaign are 3 principles for good governance: inclusiveness, engaging with your community and taking them with you; social cohesion, embracing diversity; and simple common sense. I bring to the role extensive leadership experience from professional and voluntary basis, positions held at national, regional and local levels, significantly 12 years of elected representation as a community board chair and councillor. Still active, I'm currently president of the Mount Maunganui Ratepayers Association. I chair a regional statutory committee. I'm a Justice of the Peace and I continue a lifelong commitment to surf life saving. A vote for me is a vote for change, the voice you deserve.
Excellent. Michael.
Garth Matheson, I'm a lawyer, a naval officer, and a community activist. Now I'm running to save Tauranga for ratepayers and community organisations. Between 2003 and 2009, I was the chairman of the Tauranga Millennium Track Trust that raised the finance and built the world-class athletic track that the commissioners want to demolish. And this is how I got involved in local body politics. And of course, I've grown as time has gone on. The commissioners have been an absolute disaster. They've wasted or proposed to waste over $1 billion on an infrastructure program in the Te Papa ward. Now, the CBD failed there not because there was not enough money invested in it. That's absolute nonsense. It was failed because there was no demand for it anymore. Technology and shopping centres made the CBD redundant. It's going to be a financial bottomless pit if the long-term plan is not stopped. And that, to me, is the key issue. Do you support the long-term plan or not?
Thank you for that. Now, I need to add there are two candidates who were not able to make it today, and we're not entirely sure why. That is, they were meant to remotely come in. That is Teresa Nichols and Jacqueline Poynton. All right. Next, we have questions you think you might ask after tonight's show. Number 1. Will the shopping mall hours of trade be soon brought to the freestanding street across cafes of Mount Maunganui? How many extra cameras will it take to make Mount Maunganui Ward in the ballot show work? And third, will voters be able to distinguish between Mount Maunganui and Matua Otamutai wards, even when Google Maps? Thank you very much there, Sam. All right. Now, let's get on to the questions. I have a random list here. So let us start with Heidi. Would you like to choose a box number?
3.
Ka pai, te pātau tuatahi mō koutou. The first question for you all, letter R, reads, what qualifications do you hold that would qualify you for councillor, and what skills have you got that ensure you will perform well as a councillor? Thank you, candidates.
Kia ora, I have a degree in Parks and Recreation Management, and I have a postgrad in Sustainable Practice, and I also have experience in local government, and I understand the local government system very well. I'm on 2 charitable trust boards and have participated in a lot of different advocacy groups over the years in the issues of pollution in our local community, in the issues around multimodal transport and trying to get better outcomes, and I do a lot of environment work. Kia ora.
Thank you. Garth.
Okay, well, I have a 38 years experience as a lawyer, 31 in my own practice.
Garth, would you like to choose a box number?
Oh, I've got to choose a box number, sorry.
Yes.
All right. Choose box number, say 10.
We have the reference on to the sheet.
Yes. As soon as
What can I provide, sir?
The number of cards which you've already been filling.
Ka pai. So our second question for you, the card number is M, and the question reads, what is your strategic vision for Tauranga City? I.e., what will the city look like in 10 to 15 years' time?
Okay, my strategic vision for the city is completely different from that from the commissioners. My strategic vision for the city is it is an interlocking community of villages. Just look at the geography, harbours, peninsulas, the main parts of the city, i.e. the Tauranga Te Papa Ward and Mount Maunganui, they have three sides that have got water around them. It's impossible to create New York City in either of those. There'll never be an underground railway. What we have to do is recognise that. I see the main road coming through from State Highway 29, along Takitumu Drive, across the bridge, along Hewlett's Road and Totara Street, and out to the south to the expressway. And all else is just interconnecting villages off that. Always we've got to remember that Aotearoa New Zealand is the quarter-acre, half-gallon pavlova paradise. We don't want to be putting people, jamming people. You can cross your head as much as you like, mate, putting them in apartments. Okay? We want people having the quarter-acre, half-gallon pavlova paradise. That's my vision for the city.
Thank you. All right, next we have Jen.
I'll have number 6, please.
Kia ora, Jen. Your partai reads, letter B, your partai reads, Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. Studies have shown that diverse and inclusive societies both increase well-being and economic growth. How would you actively improve Tauranga Moana's sense and celebration of its diverse society? Thank you, Jen.
A diverse community is really important, and I think it's a challenge that it's not just Tauranga that has this challenge. If you look up what other cities and councils have done, we need to engage better with our minorities. We need to recognise those different cultures because they bring so much life to a city. We actively, as part of the Local Government Act, we do need to support a social environment, a positive social environment for a community, and that's about diversity and understanding what other people are feeling. I think we need to get out of in the community more and really look at those, at how we can celebrate different music, food, ethnic cultures in festivals, but also around the board, around the council table. So it's really important that we do recognise. I'm not sure how many of the 1,500 that we actually have in Tauranga, but I'm strongly supportive of being open, because diverse views are actually increase the conversation and improve the conversation, in my view.
Thank you very much. And Michael.
17.
Kia ora, Michael. Tēnei tō pātai. This is your question, letter S. As a retiree, it would be nice to be able to visit. This is not speaking in the first person here. As a retiree, it would be nice to be able to visit a local cafe later than 1 p.m. if I want food, or 2 p.m. in general when they all seem to close for the day. What initiatives would you offer and implement to encourage cafes in the Mount area to stay open later? And if they require additional funding, how would you fund them?
In my view, this is actually beyond the role of local government. It's more about private enterprise, and I suppose at the end of the day, council's job is to encourage private enterprise to be innovative and to get out there and market themselves. It's a funny question, I think, for this particular ballot. As I say, it's about private industry, private enterprise, and them making their go at things.
Thank you. All right, next random order. We're starting with Michael.
A random order.
Yep, I've randomized it again.
Another one. Let's go with 7.
Thank you, Michael. Your question reads, letter Q. Shortly, Tauranga City Councillors will be asked to approve a proposal for the installation of rainbow street art in the CBD. The aim of the project is to celebrate our rainbow community, acknowledge our wider diversity, and improve the vibrancy of our CBD. Would you vote?
What question is that one?
Letter Q.
Q. Yep.
Ka pai. Shortly, Tauranga City Councillors will be asked to approve a proposal for the installation of rainbow street art in the CBD. The aim of the project is to celebrate our rainbow community, acknowledge our wider diversity, and improve the vibrancy of our CBD. Would you vote in favour of the proposal? And if not, why not?
Actually, I'm quite pleased you answered this question. I've got a prepared answer, but I'll speak off the cuff. I have a background with the NZTA as their behaviour change analyst and safety coordinator. And it's a lot of research points to the fact that if you normalise road signs and normalise the expectations drivers have on the road, then you get the best outcomes for safety. In this instance, what they're asking us to do is something that's a bit abnormal. Put a crossing in that people won't recognise as a crossing. Therefore, I don't deem it to be a safe initiative. I think personally that there are better ways for them to celebrate their diversity. I encourage diversity, but when it comes down to road safety, I draw a line, and that's mainly because of my background with the NZTA agency and my experience in road safety initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Garth. Oh, Garth. Yes, you're up.
25.
25.
What letter?
Letter Y for you, Garth. Being on council requires reading, comprehending and analysing complex information, including financial, statistical and regulatory information. What background and skills will you bring to the reading and numbers requirements?
Button card.
I've been a lawyer for 38 years, 31 of those on my own account. I've had 2 staff members who've been with me for decades, so I'm pretty pleased with the way I treat them. I work well with other people. I was the officer in charge of the Naval Reserve Unit here until recently. I've done 2 military overseas deployments, plus multiple military and military exercises, both domestic and international. And then, of course, I was the chairman of the Tauranga Millennium Track Trust. That was a voluntary group that built the athletic track at the Domain. We raised $1.7 million over 6 years, constructed it, world-class athletic track. So I work well with people, no problem, but I've also got the initiative and the background to be able to deal with complex problems, understand accounts, and et cetera, et cetera. Cheers.
Thank you. Heidi.
Sorry, I did a
Oh, I'm
button.
sorry about that. Yes, go right ahead.
Can we have the right question up, please? We've still got the rain.
Oh, so-
Everyone there.
All right, and this was question number, letter Y for Yankee. Thank you.
Right, okay. So I'm a fellow chartered accountant. I have been reading numbers for a long time. I like numbers. I do believe we've got rates of about 263 million that come in each year. We've got assets of about 7.6 billion, and around the council table, they need to be discussed. I know that I've got really good experience. I was, as treasurer of Zespri, I had to do a $250 million loan every year, and dealt with 600 million of foreign exchange each year. And I believe that's really important to be able to make sure that the council is providing the councillors and the mayor with the right numbers for us to make governance decisions.
Thank you. All right. Heidi.
8.
Question 8 is letter O for Oscar. Heidi, do you support the revitalisation of our city centre/CBD?
Yes, I do. I do support the revitalisation of a CBD. I believe that we're investing for future generations, and I think that museums and libraries are incredibly important spaces, not only for recording our past, but also for there being places for people to go and families to go. I have incredibly fond memories of my kids being able to spend time in libraries and in museums when I lived in Auckland with them when they were very, very little. And they're hugely important spaces, and I'm really excited about the opportunity we have to revitalise our CBD.
Thank you, Heidi. Next, Jen.
1.
Lucky number 1.
I hope so. Got the blue card.
Kia ora, Jen. Letter P for Te Papa. If you are elected into council, will you support the Tauranga Commissioner's strategy, direction and long-term plan? Yes or no?
I will support the long-term plan. I don't believe it's the Commissioner's plan because a lot of engagement went into it. A lot of work goes into it from the council. But it's a plan, so it's active, it's live. We have to stay solvent as a city. We have to be able to make sure that we can deliver projects. So we do have to, a new council will have to understand priorities. There's new feedback from their own communities that need to come in. I 100% believe the city needs a 10-year plan, but it is a plan. We need to review it. We need to look at the numbers and we need to make sure we deliver. But we also need to say, let's think about what makes Tauranga a city we want to live in, because we want people to want to live here, to want to work here and to want to play here.
We have a button.
Yep.
First, two buttons. Garth.
Okay, no, I oppose the long-term plan and I want it repealed and replaced. The citizens of this city cannot afford a 164% rate increase over the next 10 years, nor can they afford the public debt be increased from 1 billion to 3 billion after the commissioners have already doubled it from 550 million to 1 billion. So I totally oppose it. And John Robson and I are running public meetings about this next week as to why the long-term plan must be repealed and replaced, and we welcome you all to come to them.
Yeah, so my answer is, look, I don't agree with the LTP as it stands. It does need amending. Love or hate what the commissioners have achieved, it's actually now time to move forward. Take the lessons of what has transpired, build a new momentum to continue growing our city, aligned with agreed local opinions and expectations. Balancing these is the challenge for the future governors.
Thank you very much. All right, next random order, Jen.
21.
Thank you, Jen. Easy one right out front. J for Juliet is our question. Are you prepared to support unpopular but necessary levels of rates increases in order to ensure the financial viability of the council, instead of voting for lower rates increases in the interest of your own re-election prospects at the expense of future councils being able to fund infrastructure, maintenance and upgrades?
There has been significant lack of investment in Tauranga for a long time. We do need to invest in the city. We've had amazing growth, but we do need to make sure that that growth is sustainable. We need to invest in the infrastructure, in the transport, in the housing, and the water. We need to make sure we're sustainable economically, environmentally, and socially. So I believe we do need to make sure we're investing, and yes, that may well be a rate increase, and that has been forecast in the long-term plan. But we also need to look at it and say, are we getting value out of what the council itself is delivering? 1,200 people in that council, are they delivering value for your rate to the ratepayers? And we need to make sure that we are balancing to make sure we're getting delivery, but we've got a great city to live in going forward.
Thank you very much. Michael.
Is 14 available? I've got a different alignment of questions, but the same questions, but
Box numbers have nothing to do with what's on the sheets.
no, I know that, but my numbers are different, and my alphabet letters are different.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I've got for your
Good shuffling.
For your number 14, question F, yes or no, do you support the establishment of Māori wards? Do you support the Treaty of Waitangi? Why? That's the question as written.
To all of those things, yes, I do support the Treaty of Waitangi. I have a number of academic qualifications understanding the issues that Māoris face in studies that I've done at academic levels. But as far as a Māori ward, I just see that as just another ward. By my choice of where I live determines how I can vote in the electric ward that I vote in. So effectively, by choosing where I live determines whom I can vote for. Māori choose to go on the electoral roll, so they choose to elect a representative from that role, from that ward. Simple. I don't see any difference to what they choose to what I choose.
Thank you very much. Garth,
Can I have box number 28?
Question 28 for you, Garth. Letter X. The previous council was not functional. What qualifications and what approach do you bring as a team player? Ideally, not your capabilities as a leader, emphasizing your qualities as a team player more than a leader.
Well, I had a similar question before. My qualities as a team player, I think that I do have good relationships with people, as I said before. I've had my two secretaries for decades, and we all get along well together. In respect of my career, both in the Navy and also as in community organisations such as the Tauranga Millennium Track Trust, I've always had good relationships with people, and we've always been very productive in what we've achieved.
thank you very much. Heidi, your choice.
Number 11.
Number 11 is question A. What political party are you linked to?
I don't have any affiliations with a political party for this candidate role.
Nice and easy.
I feel like local government needs to work with all parties, to be honest, and I think it's important that we're prepared to work with everybody.
All right. Next order, we have Garth.
27.
Question 27, Garth, letter K. In regards to the Plan 33 change for residential density around the city, where do you stand on the changes?
I'm totally opposed to the changes. I've had experience as a lawyer, of course, when one of the big developments was done. It must have been done about 10, 15 years ago. They put an apartment building up along Maunganui Road. Clients go in there, and of course, the basement, they dug into the sand, and the basement floor lifted 2 centimetres in a couple of weeks, and concrete blocks had to be put down on it. Building on sand is very difficult. Not only that, we don't have the infrastructure there to be able to cope with the type of buildings that be built there, and that includes the stormwater as well as the roading, obviously. And the other important factor with this is that people at the Mount don't want it. It's going to ruin the character of the Mount. So I totally oppose that.
Thank you. Heidi.
Oh, we're back. That was quick.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Well, it is very quick when there are 4 of you.
yeah. 15.
Question letter L. Do you support the proposed CBD stadium?
No, I don't support the CBD stadium. I think that there has been a significant investment already into the CBD. I think that we've got so many priorities that we need to do in this city, and a lot of them are functional priorities around water, transport, and housing. And I think that at this time and potentially into the future, it creates a lot of traffic, and a lot of people need to come into a very constrained area. So I'm not even sure whether that's the right location for it.
We have a
Yeah,
button.
okay. Yes, I absolutely support the stadium. I was one of the leaders of the opposition and the protest movement in respect of the stadium, and a speaker at both the protest and the public meeting. Now, the stadium started in 2015 as a proposal by business people for $25 million. The cost of it now is $280 million. We'll also run it at a loss of $15 million a year for a couple of rugby games and 2 concerts. Absolutely, I absolutely oppose it, and I think any sensible person would. There's no parking for 15,000 people. I pointed that out to Ann Tolley, and she told me people were going to come on buses.
Thank you. Michael.
30.
Oh, ready to go.
Go to the top. Is there 30? Huh?
28.
We don't have a number.
28.
Next to that at 28.
That'll do.
No, I did that one.
I did you?
26 is our highest remaining.
That'll do.
Number 26 now, letter U. Are you able to pronounce Tauranga correctly, and are you familiar with the local iwi and hapu in our city?
Tauranga, as in Tauranga. Yes, I can pronounce most Māori pronunciations appropriately and properly. The second part was, am I familiar with local iwi? I'm very familiar with. In fact, I've done a lot of work around marae on this side of the city, not so much over on the Bethlehem side. I ran a program taking murals into the wharikai of all the Western Bay murals, marae on this side around Te Puke and around that area. Have a long history of an association with them. Understand their needs and their drivers. So confident that, yes, I do appreciate and understand where Māori are coming from and what they want. I have a son-in-law who's also very strong in his Māori heritage. My daughter works for the Māori Affairs Department in Wellington, so quite up to date with those things, as obviously they're conversations we have at home a lot.
Now, just quickly, I'd like to go off script, and I'd like to take a whack at the first part of that question. Tauranga.
Tauranga,
Tauranga.
yeah.
All right.
As
I learned. Yeah.
How you think you toe?
Excellent. All right.
Kia ora, I'll just speak in with a slight correction there for the record,
Yep.
if I may. If we look at the phonetics there, we have, and if there are others in the room with the Mātauranga, then I invite you to speak up. But my understanding is that the full name of Tauranga is Te Tauranga o Ngā Waka, meaning the safe anchoring place of waka, given that we have our beautiful harbour Te Awanui. So in this case, the correct pronunciation is Tauranga, and Tauranga is halfway there. Ai, kia ora koutou.
Thank you for that. Always good to learn something new. All right, Jen.
Kia pai, Jen, your partai reads, your question is letter I. Do you wish to promote or delay public transport measures for Tauranga?
I absolutely support public transport in Tauranga. I believe as a growing city, we need to offer public transport. It is not good enough yet. I think we need to absolutely look at why we've got the regional council and the city council, one owning the infrastructure and one managing the public transport. I believe public transport should be an alternative method, but I think we also should be promoting cycling, ferries, walking, and those three things, and public transport. And I think we've been talking about improving these great big yellow buses going past with no people. We really need to improve that. I also know from talking to people that use the buses that they don't get asked when the routes change, and they need to get asked because they're the ones that are impacted. So we need to make sure we've got public transport on the routes that people will use them.
All right, Heidi, you have a button.
I have a button. I also agree that we need public transport and all forms of multimodal transport to make our transport system work for us and for our city. I'm a big fan of using our harbour. We've got a beautiful harbour. It's an amazing way to travel. It's really, there's lots of opportunity there to get ferries going. I'd love to see small flexible bus services to work for. We've got a very complex array of roading and isthmuses around our community. Be really nice to see a small flexible bus service work, and I'd really love to see intercity rail to Auckland. I think there's lots of opportunity for us to really advocate for that. It would connect us to Hamilton and to Auckland and make a big difference.
Thank you. I know that our usual host, Sam, would agree with you completely. He is a man who loves his rail. All
Train
right.
spotter.
That he is. Okay, next order, we have Michael.
I'm going to go for number 13.
Ooh, lucky number. We'll find out.
Thank you, Michael. This is question T. Given the overwhelming empirical evidence showing that sprawl costs the public purse, ratepayers, way more than intensive urban development, for example, the OECD show it triples the cost of public services, will you agree to contain the city boundaries as they are to encourage the city to go up instead of out?
See, I don't have that question.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Do you want to give it a go off the cuff?
This is probably too important to go off the cuff.
All right, well, you can defer if you like. Even to someone who's not here.
It's question. Hang on a minute.
Or maybe it's yes. I've got my
Okay, yeah. No, essentially, this denies choice. I do adhere to the mantra that growth has to pay for growth, and it must not be at a ratepayer's cost. I can see the attraction to the developer with intensive urban development. If we take the Mount, though, with limited and extremely expensive land options, how will intensification improve the well-being of the residents, given the ingress and egress problem is already at maximum capacity? And there are no plans to improve. Indeed, quite the opposite, given the commissioners have removed Tortura Street, Hewlett's Road remediation from the LTP. On top of that, they're pushing for intensification of the Mount with high-rise, more people, more cars, more vehicles, more need to come in and out. Just not going to happen.
Was there a button from Heidi?
Yes, I will button on that one. I believe that we do need to think really carefully about intensification. I've spent a lot of time studying what urban development, good urban design looks like. I've lived in cities overseas which function beautifully, even small towns. One of my favorite cities is a city the size of Tauranga, but you can walk 45 minutes from one side to the other, and it's vibrant and it's lively and it's full of life. So I think if we can get really good design principles and bring the community along, then we can do good design so that we can intensify our city in a way that brings the community with us. Currently, we've had incredibly bad examples of high-rise buildings in the past that have that don't give us good outcomes. So we really need to ensure that we work together with the community and with good design principles to get the best outcomes.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Garth.
Okay, let's try 25.
24 is currently out.
24?
Question 24, letter W. What is your plan to reduce congestion and vehicle emissions?
Okay, my plan for that, as I said before, is interlocking villages. Because if people are in their villages and not having all to rush over to the CBD, which I also said was redundant, we don't need, then you're going to have less people travelling around in cars than otherwise would be the case.
Thank you very much. All right. Heidi.
18? No, I think I might have said that already. 18, it's there. Brilliant. Might be a hit.
18 for you, Heidi, letter C. In recent years, violence directed toward Aotearoa, and in this case, Tauranga Moana's LGBTQIA community, has increased, most notably with the destruction of our community's Rainbow Youth Facility in an attack. How would you create a Tauranga Moana that actively promotes an appreciation of our diverse communities?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important that we build a community that can that has tolerance and acceptance of all sorts of people. I think as a council, some of the best things we can do is create really beautiful and amazing bumping spaces like community centres, make them affordable so that places that people can meet. I think that we can also enable things like festivals and street art and ways that people can express what differences and commonalities they have between each other. I think there's lots of opportunity, but I'd really say that one of the biggest things is engagement and asking that of the community. What can we do for you, and what would you like to see, and see where we go from there.
Thank you. All right, Jen.
5.
Question number 5, letter M. Do you support a museum for Tauranga City?
I definitely support a museum for Tauranga City. I think one of my colleagues talked about revitalising the city centre. At the moment, the museum is planned for the city centre. We're a city. We can be easily. We should be able to talk about our history. We should have somewhere that we can see our history. It's a museum is a celebration of what has gone on in Tauranga. That can be a celebration of the diversity of what's happened in Tauranga or is happening in Tauranga. But on the other side of it, we also need to make sure that it's feasible within our sustainable financial management plan. And we need to make sure that we are having a museum that is attracting people to come to it, because we don't want to just build a museum that people don't come to.
Go ahead.
It's actually important to factor into this debate that currently our historic treasures are costing the city $1 million to keep in storage, and yet we don't get to see them. The lessons of history are important to our future. I've been on public record already as supporting this space, but not necessarily a massive museum like perhaps some are envisaging, more a space with revolving displays where treasures can be revolved and shown in different aspects and at different times. It's not to say that I support a big museum. I support a space where we can, a standalone space where we can actively present displays of the treasures that we've got locked away at the moment.
All right. Michael.
22.
Question 22 for you, Michael. Letter D. D. The most vibrant and successful cities on earth have grown societally and economically in part through abandoning concepts of homogenous societies and embracing the diversity of our populations. Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. How would you grow Tauranga Moana through actively celebrating all peoples who call our city home?
As I mentioned in my start, the cornerstone of my campaign calls for inclusiveness and social cohesion, enabling opportunities for connectivity, embracing diversity, and enabling all sectors of our community the opportunity to be listened to, heard. In recent years, a small handful have had the ears of the governors. We need to support and empower self-identifying communities to be genuine representatives of their place, provide capacity building and support for capacity development through appropriate policy, facilitating local place wellbeing and planning to enable these groups to spell out their needs and priorities. And in that way, people will feel that they're part of the city, they'll feel ownership over their city, and they'll feel included.
Thank you. Jen, we have a button.
A button, I just want to acknowledge that we have to recognise that diversity is great and theory of diversity is great, but we actually don't practice it that well across local councils in New Zealand. I would look at diversity in terms of the number of women that stand at elections and get in elections. And I think what I'd like to add, and I 100% agree with you, Michael, but I think we have to add, we all have to work harder at actually recognising that we probably do have some discriminatory thoughts, and we need to be better at making sure our policies are in place to make sure we are more open-minded than we currently are, because we're not all that open right now, in my view.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, Garth, you're up.
Okay, I'll have, well, you just speak at blocks. I don't care.
16.
That'll do.
Oh, 2 letters for this one. This is question AA. What alternative revenue streams can you suggest that the council explore to avoid raising rates by an even higher amount?
Well, the commissioners have tried to come up with ways of getting other money, and really they failed. Rates, it always falls back to the ratepayer. They're looking at selling assets, and one stage they're even going to sell the Gretton car park. And that's why we've got to change the long-term plan. There simply aren't other revenue streams you can get. There's a fantasy called the IFF, which is an Infrastructure Funding and Finance Act, which really is to get debt off the council books. But when you look at it, it's just a fraud, because in fact, while the ratepayers are the borrowers, in fact, the council get the money and then they get the money back off the ratepayers to pay. So it's really part of the debt. There really is no other way other than the ratepayers.
Thank you, Garth. Heidi.
Number 4.
Oh, you're getting through these fast.
No, it just really gets trouble.
Tēnei tōpāsau I Heidi. H for Heidi, there you go. Do you support greater levels of intensification and the loosening of height restrictions in central areas, like that recently seen in the amended Wellington District Plan?
Yeah, this is a really, I mean, obviously very topical question right now. I think that there's a lot of challenges that we have in Mount Maunganui for a start, because this is the area that we're talking about. Mount North, there's floodplains and inundation zones down there that could have future climate risk that we need to be really careful of. There's also currently, as Michael alluded to, big challenges in terms of transporting in and out of our area, and there's also massive issues with pollution from the Mount Industrial area. And currently, we've got a health report out that says, we've got 13 premature deaths per year based on our health pollution. So at this stage, I would say we've got a lot of work to do to make our area safe for higher density, but also there's a lot of community engagement to do first too. And as I said before, we've really got to find out what the Mount vibe is, not just by a few certain people, but also try and get a whole lot of people in the room and really understand it.
Thank you, Heidi. All right. Looks like we have 5 left. Jen, would you like to choose?
I'll have the one closest to you.
Ngā mihi, Jen. Your question is not as easy to grab as I thought. Letter AB. If you are elected as a councillor, will you decelerate council spending on unwanted grand projects and concentrate on vital necessary infrastructure needs, such as roading?
I think it's a loaded question, because I'm not sure if there is an official description of unwanted grand projects. Absolutely, I think we've all talked about the fact that we do need a plan that is financially sustainable. We also need to make sure that we're investing in our city to make Tauranga a great place to work and live and learn and play in. And I think there are certainly public amenities which I support that we have, and we've talked about a number of those. So for me, we really need to make sure that we are building the public amenities that are priority to the people of Tauranga, and for now and for the future.
Thank you, Jen. Michael.
Number 9. Thank you.
Kia ora, Michael. Your question is number G, letter G rather. Given the well-established evidence globally and within New Zealand that congestion is increased when more and bigger roads are built, and also that congestion is bad for the economy, including wages, what policies would you support to improve the mobility of residents around Tauranga City?
Gosh, this one fits really neatly because, as I mentioned, I have a background working in the planning and funding team with NZTA and was responsible for sustainable and safe travel. This is not an easy fix. Locally and indeed nationally, it's more about a cultural shift and behaviour change, which can take a generation or two to manage. Unfortunately, and in real terms, public transport in Tauranga is very new and is struggling to gain traction due to a number of mitigating factors. Poor bus infrastructure, a poorly perceived bus culture, and issues around dependability. The change will come, I believe, through global technological change, self-driven vehicles, for example. I perceive a not too distant future where we may not own our own vehicles, but use public vehicles as we do the many green scooters littered around our streets.
All right, Garth.
Okay, just pick the next box, whatever it is.
Partai E, question E for you. International studies have shown that an active appreciation of a society's diversity boosts both positive well-being and economic growth. Some might argue Tauranga City has in the past overly represented a specific demographic. How would you ensure Tauranga City Council actively reflects our whole society?
By holding a democratic election. Now, the most successful societies in the history of the world have been Western democracies, and that's because they've been based on democracy and giving everybody a vote. Now, I believe that the homeless person living at the Domain has an equal right to vote as well as me. And Western democracies have been the most successful societies politically, economically, and socially.
Thank you. Heidi.
Oh, I have to guess that one. 21. Oh my gosh, I did get, no, it wasn't 10.
23.
Oh, take 23. Yeah, I was like, wow.
So our question is letter V for you, Heidi. With a CBD that needs revitalising and a housing crisis, supply and affordability wise, how are cost savings and rate changes going to contribute to this?
CBD that needs revitalising, tick, and a housing crisis, tick. Supply and affordability wise, how are cost savings and rate changes going to contribute to this? What is it?
How's it gonna solve it? I think I read it.
Right. How are cost savings, rate changes going to help solve this? How cost savings and rate changes going to help solve this? I think that this is really complex. Housing supply is incredibly complex. It's going to take mass collaboration across not only Tauranga City Council, but government and developers and Kāinga Ora and a lot of different, and Māori. There's a lot of opportunity in terms of how we can create housing supply within the context of what we're dealing with at the moment. I think one of the biggest issues too is housing choice. We need a lot bigger variety of the kind of housing that we're supplying. Currently, we've got an oversupply of 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-garage family homes, and we don't have many small apartments, and we don't have many extended family homes. So there's a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Heidi. Now, the last box, you are going to love me. Heidi.
Yay. Yes.
Oh, me?
Oh, yeah, it's you.
Again.
It's you.
All right.
again.
I'll take it.
And I am actually randomizing it.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Can I have a drum roll, please, from our audience for our
Last
Right.
question.
tēnei te pātau whakamutunga mo tēnei po, our last question for the evening. Letter Z. Many candidates have predetermined absolute positions on some issues. How willing are you to be persuaded to take a different approach by evidence or public feedback?
Yeah, 100%. I think I must say that I was on the last council, and And this is one of the biggest things that we can do is to not sit in prescribed positions, because once you get on to council, you've got so much more information that you need to work with, that when you thought you knew what you knew before you came on can be a lot different when you've actually got all the information in front of you. So you need to be really prepared to back changing your position, to work with the community around you. You've got 11 people at the table who represent all of the community as well. And we've also got 160,000 people. And in my view, together we know more. So the more that we are prepared to listen and adjust our views based on evidence and based on engagement, the better we will do, and the more that we'll be able to have an inclusive and functional council team.
Thank you for that, Heidi. All right. We have finished the first part of our show. The boxes are empty. And we're going to take a... Oh, sorry, Ray. Yep. So we are going to take a short 10-minute break, and we'll come back with hard-hitting questions. Let me know when to go.
Ding, ding.
Go. Welcome back to It's in the Ballot. Now it's time for hitting questions, but before that, I just need to make an apology to Jacqueline Pointer. She wanted to be on the show, but due to some technical problems, we were not able to accommodate that. So, Jacqueline, I'm very sorry. All right, let's get on with the hard-hitting questions. All right. All right, we're back. Now, let's start off with hard-hitting question number one.
You can press it on the phone on there.
Yes. First, I'm generating the random list for our candidates.
Sorry, me micromanaging.
Yep. Okay. So, our first hard-hitting question: do you support the Tauranga City Council's long-term plan, 2024 to 34? And first up, you're never going to guess. It's Heidi.
I do support the fact that the long-term plan, because the long-term plan gets revised every 3 years. It also gets updated every year. So if we set the long-term plan this year is also part of the last kind of 10 years of planning going forward. So it just, I need my, I haven't got my, I'm gonna do this.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Can people
Start
would have heard it?
Start
Shall I
again.
start again?
Yeah.
Okay. I do support the long-term plan, because a long-term plan just doesn't come out of the blue. It's based on planning that happens over 10 years, and it also is kind of a progression through the next 10 years. So it's based on a lot of work that goes on before it. And I think we need to be really careful that if we suddenly flipped out of that and tried to do something completely different, it would, one, cost a lot of money, but it would also just create a lot of complexities. We need to work with the plan that we have when we come in as a team. We need to adjust it as we go to reflect the democracy that's in the room, but also the engagement that we get every time we have an annual plan. And then in 3 years' time, we will have a much better opportunity, once we're really on board and we really understand where things are at, to redress the long-term plan in a way that then suits the environment that we see ourselves in at that time.
Perfect timing. All right. Michael.
Oh, great. Yeah, look, I certainly support strategic and long-term planning. It's essential for a city and it's essential for business. However, I seriously doubt that mainstream ratepayers can condone a plan that raises rates by what has been talked about, 140 to 160% increases, and debt levels to $3 billion, with all capital expenditure for the next 10 years centred on one ward, Te Papa, and the CBD. This is quite significant for Mount Maunganui ratepayers because of the high value of the properties over that way, where we have a lot of asset-rich but cash-poor retirees. And their rates are subjected to significant dollar increases on top of, obviously, by the percentage increase that's proposed. So we need to talk in terms of dollars, not necessarily percentages. And certainly for our Mount ratepayers, what they're going to be pay is disproportionate into a lot of other ratepayers in the city.
Thank you. Jen.
I do support the Tauranga long-term plan.
Microphone.
I do support the Tauranga City Council long-term plan, but on the basis that it is a plan, it's live, it's active. As Heidi said, there is a 3-year review cycle, but also an annual review cycle, and we need to make sure that the new council needs to come up with they will have different priorities than have been there before, and they need to be taken into account. But the the City Council plan also has to deliver value, and it has to deliver value that enables the council and Tauranga to stay solvent. So there's lots of things that need to be taken into account, and the new council will need to look at all of those things.
Thank you. Garth, go ahead.
I absolutely oppose the long-term plan, and I want it repealed and replaced as soon as possible with something that is sensible and affordable and has the mandate of the people, because the current plan was put through by people who have no mandate, and we're being taxed without representation. So 164% rates increase and a $3 billion debt is frankly unaffordable.
Thank you. All right. Hard-hitting question number 2. How do you plan to address climate change and environmental issues at the local level? And first up this time, Heidi, go right ahead. It likes you. It likes you.
So climate change, there's 2 parts of that we need to look at. We need to look at our risk profile and what our risks are for our city over time due to the impacts of climate change. We also need to look at climate change mitigation and what we can do to bring our carbon emissions down. One of it, ultimately our biggest carbon emissions slice of the pie comes from transport. So there's a myriad of things that we can do about that. Encouraging active travel, we can encourage multimodal transport, and we can also look at our charging infrastructure and work collaboratively to ensure that we've got opportunities for transitioning to a low carbon transport system.
Thank you very much. Garth.
Okay, in respect of climate change, as I said, if we have blocking villages, people aren't going to be driving their cars all around us because they won't need to go to the CBD. Now, in respect of environmental issues, well, one of the environmental issues we need to have is green spaces in the Tauranga Te Papa area. So we don't need Waikato University building a huge marine park on one of the only green spaces there, nor do we need a 15,000 stadium there. Now, clean air, of course, is a big issue at the mountain. We all live there, and we all know the dust, the black dust you get coming over from the port and things like that. And I think it's incumbent on the people coming into the council to work on that problem and to get these businesses under control a bit and cut down on the amount of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide coming through out from the port and the industrial area.
Thank you, Garth. Michael.
Let's talk about the Mount Maunganui and something that isn't public yet, but I have been representing the community on a flood mitigation workshop program over the last 3 months. We've had 4 workshops so far. What is not known, and this is also a reason why Plan 33 is stupid for the Mount, is that global warming is impacting quite significantly on the Mount area, in the sense that we know that the underground water has risen about 8 centimetres. So water table's rising. The tidal area is becoming of concern to the beaches. We also know there are major heavy global rain events that are likely to create flooding and significant flooding. We also know that the topography of the Mount is basically sand. We know that the land dips from about Zespri and then goes into a loop and then starts climbing back up the mountain. So the Mount is set for significant flooding problems, and we have to mitigate against those. And those are driven by climate events, global warming, all those issues. And we are currently formulating a plan to hopefully start some mitigation processes to save them out. Because at the end of the day, we are subjected to tsunamis, we are subjected to flooding, we're subjected to ingress from the harbour, and a lot of the old historic waterways that used to get water out of the Mount are currently underground. So that's an issue that the Mount faces and do other areas of the city. Matua, Welcome Bay.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Jen.
I think my 3 colleagues have all talked about the impacts of climate change, and particularly for the Mount. We have got a tsunami risk, we have got flooding. We've also got a real issue with air quality, and that's something that We do want the port to be there. It's our biggest economic funder in the region, but there's some businesses there we need to say, are they doing well enough with air quality? I certainly don't like the black soot that I get all over my house in the Mount. And I think just with transport, I 100% agree we actually need to get better ourselves at biking, walking and using public transport to get a few of the cars off the road, because we are at the Mount, we are pretty heavy on using our cars. So we also have to take a little bit of that ourselves to be able to do something ourselves rather than expect the council to do it.
Thank you very much. Hard-hitting question number 3. In your view, has Tauranga become a better place since the commissioners were appointed by the Minister of Local Government? And first up on our list, Michael.
Look, Tauranga is a great place to live regardless of who's governing. The Mount has 2 great new assets, the Coastal Pathway, and a lot of that is thanks to actually a lot of input that I put into ensuring that that council didn't do a stupid thing and take 250 car parks along the main beach road and stop people being able to bring their toys and their picnics to the beach. And a presentation I put to council saw the Coastal Pathway go up onto the dunes. So that's been one of the most wonderful assets that the Mount's had in a long, long time. And that was thanks to local ingenuity. And of course, we've got the new skate park as well. And we've got the traffic slowing mitigation along Maunganui Road with the median strip and lovely trees being planted on there. Love or hate the commissioners, it's time to move forward, grow the city for future generations and make the best of what we've got.
Jen.
If we look at the global the global environment, we've had COVID, we've had there's a couple of wars going on. So I think we have to recognise that we are all impacted by what's going on outside Tauranga as well. But I 100% agree with Michael. I think that the Mount Path is phenomenal. It's wonderful to see. I think it's taken 31 years to get there, but great, good on you if you were part of that. The skate part is really well, is being really well used. And I think I like some of the cycle paths going in. So I think we have to acknowledge that, yes, we have made some progress, but let's take that progress and move it on in a more democratic way.
Thank you, Jen. Heidi.
Yes, there have been some amazing things. The other thing that I'd like to say is that the Mauao interpretive signage and the sculptures, etc., up there has just been beautiful. It's really stunning, and that has been a wonderful collaboration with mana whenua there. So just to add to all those other wonderful things, I absolutely love the Coastal Pathway. The skate park is absolutely rammed with kids, which is just epic, and they are just feeding back. They're just absolutely loving it. So looking forward to getting those safe routes across the road, though, because it's a pretty challenging environment down there. So yes, in my view, I'd just also like to say that there's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot of challenges for people with the state of the cost of living crisis. For some people, their mortgages are really high, and the cost of food, etc., is really making a lot of people struggle. So we just need to keep in mind that it's very different wherever you are along the income and equity stream. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Thank you. All right.
No, I disagree with all that, actually. I think the commissioners have been a disaster, as I've said. I got involved because they wanted to demolish and duplicate sporting venues all over the city at the cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. And you've got to remember that people involved in that actually paid for all those things, and then we're going to get the ratepayers to replace the ones they're going to duplicate. Fortunately, the Speedway's been taken out, so that's $300 million you don't have to pay. Then they've got far too many projects going on. They're poor managers. They were dogmatic to deal with. I really had no experience of project management. None of them had any financial management experience. We've got, for example, Cameron Road was to cost 40 million, and it's now 110. Cameron Road Stage 2 was costing 40 million as well, 220. you should be frightened as to what that civic centre is going to cost when they're the ones that are behind it. 306 million, it'll be hundreds of millions of dollars more. Now, they've been a disaster. There's no way about it. And in fact, we've got a boardwalk at the Mount, doesn't make up for the lack of maintenance work done down at Main Street. Talk to Main Street people and ask them what they think of the commissioners. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think they've been a disaster, and I don't mind saying that publicly, and I am saying it publicly. And I also told them to their face I objected to them cancelling the 2022 election behind the backs of the people on behalf of a handful of business elites in the city. And we're talking about more of that on my meetings coming up. Cheers.
Thank you, Garth. All right. Now it's come to the time for closing statements, and we are going to start with Garth.
Closing statement? Right. Okay, yeah. Okay, people. Microphone, please. Sorry, sir. Oh. Okay, I'm for democracy, developing Tauranga's interconnecting villages, developments that pay for themselves. It's time to stop subsidising developers' payments and developments in the city for hundreds of millions of dollars. That's got to be stopped. Supporting and focusing on essential projects, supporting community organisations, liberating Links Avenue, clean air, using some of our rates on Mount Maunganui instead of all going into Te Papa, repealing and replacing the LTP, funding priority one for over $2 million a year. That's a business advocacy group. It should be funded by business, not by the ratepayers. Just another example of the subsidies we give business in the city. That's got to stop. Increasing rates, as I've said, 164%, to subsidise other people's developments and pay for the civic centre, the planned increase in building heights, and the stadium. So those are my for and against. You can take I've got them sitting over there on a little pamphlet if you want to take them. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Next up, Heidi.
I think that our main focus getting into council this time should be to build a really collaborative team environment and to make Tauranga proud of the governance that they have in this city. I think that we need to really work on our engagement and our trust with our community, and I think that's going to be a journey that I think all of the councillors would like to see. I'm really excited about the return of democracy. I'm excited by the candidates and the standard that's out there, and I really hope that everyone gets out there and votes, because that's the way that we can show our representation.
Thank you, Heidi. Michael.
Yeah, I believe that what sets me apart from my fellow candidates is the fact that for the past 5 years, I've been walking the talk. I've been attending all locally sponsored council workshops representing the ratepayers, flood mitigation, coastal pathway, Hewlett's Road workshops, etc. I've been a strong voice, both public and within my community, advocating for the Mount. I've achieved some outcomes that I'm pretty proud of. Specifically, as I already mentioned, the coastal pathway, getting council to agree that the plan that they had was not common sense. Throughout my working life, I've been acknowledged as a forward-thinking strategist, someone who can see the bigger picture and approach issues with realistic and common sense outcomes. A vote for me is the change you need, the voice you deserve. Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. All right, Jen.
Hello, I'm Jen Schooler, and I'm seeking your vote for the Mauao Mount Maunganui Ward. I bring a commercial head and a community heart. I've had lots of experience that I would bring to a council table. I've navigated some difficult situations. I've looked at how to deliver value. I've also looked at how to understand and govern growth and the risk that's involved in growth. I am a second generation person in Tauranga. I've lived here a long time. I've seen the changes. I want Tauranga to be more livable again. I want to attract great people, because businesses need great people to want to live and work and play in Tauranga. I'm proud to be the patron of the Mount Surf Club. I'm proud of my community efforts in the hockey club and through Chamber of Commerce in my earlier days. So I'm asking for your vote for Jen Schooler, for capability, for a commercial head and a community heart.
Thank you very much. Now, I can see we've got Sam standing over there.
Yeah.
So I think he'd like to say something.
Oh, yes.
Sam, I'll pass it over to you, shall I?
Okay, I'm just wondering which camera is going to end up on me. Okay, I've got one now. So how do you think you go, Nick? First time in the driver's seat.
I take the fifth. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so for those who are watching, we've got the Papamoa Award Show here at 7 p.m. tonight. So if you want to sit there and watch it online or in here in studio, feel free to do so. But that's about the quick little pump I wanted to do.
All right. Nice and simple. All right.
Now we just need a camera on back onto Nick.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's on me.
Yep. I'd like to thank our candidates for coming, our audience as okay. Well, then I think you just have the voice. Our audience for coming, and our crew here and in Wellington. So thank you all very much for taking the time to be here, and we hope to see you again. Hopefully in positions in the council. All right.